we're talking here about guys that could be potential steals, high value grabs that could fall into the second or third round of the draft. And I think this maybe goes hand in hand too with some of the discussion around like maybe the Wild do trade back because like that tier of like no doubt like 100% gotta grab them guys ends somewhere between 10 and 12 in a lot of scouts' eyes. So dropping back in the first to pick up seconds, thirds, whatever, like maybe it makes sense. So let's talk about some of the guys that could be there that you're really high on that maybe other scouts aren't as high on and could be available, like a Riley Heidt this past year where like you had him mocked at the end of the first and he ends up going with the last pick in the second.
Yeah. So, and I mean, the guys that I've got here that we'll talk about, I think for the most part, any like public scouting thing or whatever, everyone's on the same page with these guys where it's like either maybe they're just like not enough to justify a first round pick or whatever, but like everyone, like I think most of the guys I'll bring up here are probably somewhere in the second, early third, but like first guy that I want to bring up who has come on unbelievably strong, especially in the CHL playoffs and in the Mem Cup, is a kid, Sam O'Reilly of the London Knights. Plays center there, 6'1", around 180, 90 pounds. Start of the year was a premier defensive shutdown guy, not a ton of points. And like this is someone that like we talked about this with Hunter Haight after he was drafted, where it's like, yeah, this year the OHL, the numbers don't jump off the page, but like look out next year, he might have a full-on breakout season. Didn't necessarily like work out like that way, but with Sam O'Reilly, like how he played in the playoffs, especially, he's got to be at the top of everyone's list for like watch out for like a guy that's going to outperform their like draft year in their like draft plus 1 year. Like, you know, again, a guy that numbers aren't really going to jump off the page at you, played anywhere in the middle six, was more of a supportive guy for them in the playoffs. But as the playoffs ramped up, like he starts putting up big time points. I think in like the semis, he had 2 assists in that game. But one of the smartest players in the draft at the forward position, like again, elite defensive play. But like he plays so quick that like I think his skill probably is a little bit underrated. But for like, I think there is still a ton of skill there. But his ability to play fast, he's a guy where like he plays fast and his brain, like his feet and his brain operate at the same pace, which is like a really something like a skill that I feel like doesn't get a whole lot of attention just because it's kind of hard to actually say or like describe that. But just his attention to detail and how advanced of a game he plays, and the fact that as like the games that mattered most, like in those games he was showing up, and for my money probably one of the 3 London Knights that stood out the most, especially the playoffs. He was like a key guy for them here. I think he probably goes middle to early second round, so anywhere from like 40 to 50. But I think when all is said and done in a couple of years, we'll look back and like wonder how this is a kid that did not go. How did he not go in the first round? Like he's got the size, the skating, again, the high-end two-way play, and the more that he's willing to like hold onto the puck and make plays himself, the more we see the skill and the offensive upside. So again, not a guy that's going to go to the NHL and put up like, 60, 70, 80 points, but I think he could be a middle six, like high-end defensive guy that has that offensive ability. And again, maybe like a 50-point guy in the NHL, which still is like a very, very valuable player. So one of the best players on a championship team, and probably guys not going to get many first round looks. But again, I think in a couple of years, we could look back and say like Sam O'Reilly probably should have gone till under the first round. Again, it's just a question of like, what's the actual upside there, which is why he's probably positioned somewhere 40s to 50s. But a guy I like a lot, especially as the year, the development, like the different things that we saw from him, the evolution of his game throughout his draft year, like very, very impressive. So he'd be a guy to look out for early on day 2, probably.
Nice.
Let's see. Let me bring up my actual. I have a couple of notes, I think, on the next guy too. Next guy, Left shot D-man Tomas Galvas, who throughout the year has gotten some like first round love. Such an interesting player where like, you know, you could call him, he's like a 5'10", so automatically you have to say undersized, I guess. But left shot D-man out of Czechia. But he's had moments when, other thing, like you could say like undersized is okay to say. I think he's like 150 pounds. So he's going to have to get a little bit bigger, at least a little bit stronger, whatever. But the thing with him is like throughout the last 2 years, we've seen some high end offense out of him. And like he, like when you look back at the Hlinka last summer, he was more of like bottom six supportive guy. And then by the end of that term, he's playing like 30 minutes a night. And I mean, like, I think he was in the U20 league in Czechia for like a couple weeks. Then he made his way full time into their first team, playing pro hockey, played 20 minutes a night in Czechia. But like one of the most smooth skating two-way defensemen in the draft. And like his defending is no joke. Like he's also just that guy, like the nonstop motor, just a pain in the fucking ass to play against, where like you can't beat him wide. If you try to like chip it past him and go retrieve it, he's going to either beat you to the puck or he's just going to take it off you, because even though he is somewhat on the smaller end of the scale here, like he is still quite strong. And like, he also knows that like he's smaller, but he knows how to use like his size, if that makes any sense, where it's just like, he knows how to position himself, the routes he takes, the pucks, like when he chooses to engage physically, like he somehow wins these battles against, like, again, like in Czechia, in the pro league, like he's winning these battles against guys who like ex-NHL guys, or guys that could be playing like whatever, bottom six of the NHL, that choose to stay in their home country. But and the thing with him, like we've seen high offensive upside from him in the past. I don't know if that will be necessarily his path, like a full-time NHL role. Again, I just think with how smart he is, how well he defends, and just like that skating ability, like that's going to be his way. He's probably going to be a guy that you won't notice a whole lot. Just because like, I think as the year went on, he kind of realized that like his path was just like being super reliable, and relying on that skating and defending to like just make plays and be effective. So he might be a guy that's playing like 25, 26 minutes a night, and you just like forget how valuable he is, because he might not do anything that's going to jump off the page at you. But another guy I think will probably go anywhere from like 50 to 60, but a real nice pickup. And I don't think it'll take him a whole lot of time to make his way over. It's just like the one mitigating factor could be the size thing, just because he's like so light. But again, like he's, for whatever reason, like been just like doubted as here, like in every like situation, like Hlinka again, like he started on that bottom pair, like even this summer at the U18s, I think he was on their second pair. By the end of the U18s, he was their number one defenseman again, playing like 30 minutes every game against every team's top line. So I'm really high on him. Again, I think at one point at Smart Sky we had him right around the first round. I don't know if we ever actually had him in there, but
I think Smart Scouting has him 36.
Yeah, so we had him just outside. I don't think he'll be falling too far from there, but again, like it's just going to be whether teams have like that big of a problem with the size. And that's, again, the fact that he's 148, 150 pounds, like that. I understand why teams might be like, oh, that's kind of concerning, but I just think he is such a smart player. He is such a good defender, and the mobility, like it's one thing to be small, but like if you can skate your way out of trouble, like he can, like I think that makes a big difference. So really like him a lot. Very curious to see where he ends up going. So, but yeah, no, Tomas Galvas, but definitely worth mentioning, I thought. Let's see. Moving on here. A guy that we did talk about him a little bit, and it was funny after we talked about him when we did the Russia top 10. I think I had him 8, 9, 10, somewhere around there. But Yegor Surin, like the second we did, like it was the weeks after I started watching him more. And I think like when we were doing the top 10 Russians, when we talked about him, I was like, yeah, like a really just a solid two-way guy, like maybe not elite offense, like no like high-end offensive plays, whatever. He put on a clinic. He was just like toe dragging guys like into oblivion, like for the next couple of weeks, where it's like, once again, stay hot. Good call, bro. But he's another guy I think probably is on most second, like anywhere, again, like probably a lot of people have him closer to 40, 50, 60 maybe. But he's he's like 6'1", 6'2", close to 200 pounds. Got a cup of coffee in the KHL this year, played I think 3 or 4 games. But just another guy with a nonstop motor. And again, especially after we did our Russia top 10 list, the skill just starts popping off. And the plays that he was making, like especially in the playoffs for Loko, I think he had over a point per game there, and was by far the best player on his team. I think the one on Loko had, I want to say close, like within 10 points of him in their playoff run. They went to the final. But like, he is a guy that he is not ever standing still. Like, he's everywhere on the ice. It's insane. So like in the offensive zone again, as the year went on, like we saw the skill pop off. Like, he's on pucks more. He's looking to make plays. He could score goals himself. Definitely more of like the playmaker, I think, than a goal scorer. But either way, even if the offense doesn't really come to like that full on potential there, like his nonstop motor and his defensive value, I like him a lot. And I also really undervalue like his transition play is like, it was comical. Now, it's always tough to gauge like the Russian Junior League, the U20 league over there, which again, people can watch for free on YouTube every single game. So I encourage everyone to do that. But the big knock on that league a lot of times is like, so many of those kids are just like all offense. It's all they give a shit about. But like, he was actually like making legitimate, solid two-way plays, like defensive plays, or even just small plays on the puck, where it's not just like chip and chase. Let me go get that puck and like just body somebody and score. Let me just toe drag some guy. Like, he was legitimately making like solid plays along the half wall in the neutral zone, just like smart decisions where like you're just seeing like an NHL style, like an NHL brain kind of operate. And like, he got, again, way better as the year went on. And as the year went on, like just seeing the skill pop off even more, definitely like raised my intrigue a whole lot. I think at one point Prodman put him in his first round. That's a bit aggressive for me, but I do get the appeal when you're looking at like a big, I think he's a no doubt center too, which obviously is going to boost his value. But another guy like late second, early third, potentially, they might be, that's a guy that might be a real nice pickup for someone just to like take a swing there, just because I do see like there is some legit upside there. And again, even if he doesn't pop off as like an offensive guy, like he's going to find you value somewhere in the game. Because again, like, it's unbelievable. Like, he's literally everywhere on the ice. Like, it's just, I don't know how he just doesn't stop. Like, he could probably play 26, 27 minutes a night at center. It's a joke. So I like him a lot. So I'm very curious to see where he goes, just because as the like picks go on, that's when like you could see a Russian go in the second. You could see him drop to like the 5th round, and like pretty unpredictable at that point. So we'll see. But I do think we talked like briefly talked about him at one point. So
we really only talked about him in the Russian top 10. So
got it.
Good one. You got one queued up?
Yeah, I got a couple or two more here.
Then we got a couple of questions that came through as well that I'll pull up, but let's get through your guys first.
Got it. So one of the more controversial players kind of in this draft, where like this guy, I don't even know where I'm going to end up having him. But Justin Poirier, right wing in the queue, undersized sniper. He's probably a top 5 shot in this draft, potentially top 5 like hands, like overall just skill. What he can do with the puck is comical. And I'm going to be fascinated to see where he falls. I think I got to pull up how many points he actually ended up putting up this year in the queue. 130. No, wait. That was the wrong one. Dumbass. All right, yeah, not 130. 82 in the regular season, or 27 in the playoffs. But he's 5'8", 180 pounds, absolute sniper that runs guys. Super, super physical. One of the best goal scorers we've ever seen come through the Q. Again, 51 goals in the regular season in 68 games for them, and 18 goals in 17 playoff games in the Q this year. For me, like, the upside with that offense, and like the fact that, yeah, he is very, very short, but he is a fucking bull, and he is super physical, and he can just pick defenses apart at will. Like, yeah, sure, he does have a lot of points on the power play, just because, like, if you put them on the power play, he's going to punish you. But he scores at even strength. Like, he's not like a defensive black hole. But you're looking at a kid where he kind of almost reminds you of like a DeBrincat, where it's like this kid is a small, just sniper, but he loves that physical aspect of the game. But again, I do think he's such a smart player, and his ability, again, just to pick defenses apart. Like, he'll draw you out of position, creative shooting lane for himself, like, no problem. You know, he's got decent feet as well, so I like him a lot. It's one where it's like, all right, how much is there outside the goal scorer? Like, there is a decent amount, but like, you're looking again like a 5'8", 180 pound, like, physical
5'8", 180 though. Like, that's that's
what I mean. It's like, yeah, he's
like, I want to see him stand next to Trevor Connolly.
Mm-hmm. So the big decision that teams are going to have to make here is like, that profile is so rare to hit at like the highest of levels in the NHL.
Wait,
but the guys that do hit,
do you just mean QMJHL or?
yeah. I just feel like his stature. All right, like,
I know.
Yeah, I know. But like, just the undersized goal scorer that's like quite just like fearless. There's physicality, but it's like the guys that do hit. Like, if you want to talk about the guys that have recently came through, where it's guys like Cole Caulfield, Alex DeBrincat, Logan Stankoven, like, there's proof of concept there that like guys that look a whole lot like, or guys that looked a whole lot like him when they were in their draft season, the guys that do hit, like, they're legit impact guys. And like, he has that upside just by way of like, his shot is legitimately unbelievable. I would easily put it top 5, maybe top 3 in this draft class. It's just like, it's going to be interesting to see which teams be like, we have to do it. Like, we have to take him. Like, how are we like going to let this kid slip? I think I'll be shocked if he does make it to the 3rd round, but I can understand why teams, especially when they look at this draft class of like the all tools, haven't put it all together type profile. Then you've got a kid like Justin Poirier. It's like, yeah, we probably know exactly what he's going to do if he like hits. He's going to score 50 fucking goals a year in the NHL. So that's going to be that's one that I would be comfortable taking in the 2nd round. I don't really have a problem with it. But I think the teams are going to have to be like, can we look past like the stat sheet? Can we look past 5'8"? Like, if we could do that, we've got super high ceiling with a kid like Justin Poirier. So I'm going to be fascinated to see where he goes.
With a guy like that, do you feel like a team is more inclined to take him if they don't have a 1st round pick and they're swinging for that 1st round upside? Or is he more inclined to go to a team that has a lot of picks, like in the middling rounds, and they're like, yeah, we can roll the dice on this one?
I ultimately think it's going to be like, I don't think it'll necessarily be a team with a lot of picks. I do think like it's going to be like, if we get to 50 and he's sitting there, like, I think it's a no-brainer. Like, I think that's just like, I do think teams are going to try to be like, 5'8", like, are we going to do this? Like, really? And it's like, bro, 50 goals in 61 regular season games, 18 goals in 17 playoff games. Like, when these guys hit, they hit.
Low-hanging fruit? Who do you think the team is that would kind of be obvious almost to take him?
I mean, I look at the track record of a team like Carolina, whatever, like other scouts, like we think that's risky. Like they've been taking every single high-end Russian fucking like second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth round the last couple of years. Last year, they took Nadeau at the end of the first round, which is like similar-ish profile. Nadeau wasn't 5'8", but like his main calling card was like one of the best shots, goal scorers in that draft. Then like they're a team that they don't really give a shit about like the conventional wisdom. Or well, not even wisdom, but just like however other team like approaches it, like they don't give a fuck. I could see them taking a swing on him too.
I'm not even going to go
I
off.
don't care.
I'm not going to go off of scouting record, but the fact that he plays in the queue goes into it, as well as his size. Dude, if the guy can score and the guy can play, Marty St. Louis can get the best out of him. And he is a Quebecois.
Yeah, well, that's what it's like. All right, like who do we give the puck to, Caulfield or Poirier? Fuck, like god damn it,
2 different lines. It's perfect.
They're like, God, those two on the same power play is so scary.
Same power play, sure, but you can't put two guys that small that are so one-dimensional. You can't put them on the same line.
Hell yeah, you can. The awesome.
Or, no, you've got like a 7-foot center. And
they take Caden Lindstrom at fucking 5th overall, who's like he's just like 6'6", fucking animal, killing people, scoring goals, making plays, and then you've got the two pit bulls coming up behind. They just like appear, then they're like F2 and F3.
That can happen. Like this is a realistic scenario.
Yeah, I hate my life.
I love that. Okay, if that happens,
makes me so sad.
That's going to be a fun narrative to play with.
Yeah, fuck. God, I hate thinking about that a lot.
Awesome.
I really don't like it.
Awesome.
It hurts me. All right.
All right. Who else you got?
Last guy, we did briefly talk about him again in the Russia thing. But a guy I think probably has a chance. I could see him going second, third, fourth, and like it. I'm very, very curious to see where a kid, Matvei Shuravin, left shot D-man, 6'3", 200 pounds, elite defender. And like, not just playing in Russian juniors. Like, he played, I got to pull up how many games he ended up playing the KHL. Yeah, he played 11 KHL games this year. He had 2 assists, good for him. But like when he played, like, especially towards the end of that like 11 game stint, they were happily putting him out there for 15, 16, 17, 18 minutes. And like, he's shutting down some of the best players in the KHL when he got a good look. Not at all a whole lot of offensive upside. He's like, that being said, like you still see, like, it's not like he's like, he doesn't put up a ton of points, but he just makes the right play a lot of times. He's very, very conservative when he does have the puck. So he's not looking to really make more plays, which probably like is why he's not really in many people's first, second rounds or whatever. But like his defensive ability at his size, his skating ability, like he is legit. I would love it if I had any of my favorite teams, if they want to take him second round, third round, I am more than fine with that, because I think there isn't a world where he doesn't end up playing legit minutes, even if it's like another guy that you don't notice a whole lot, just because his calling card is consistency and just like taking the puck away from you. He's a super valuable defender to have. He's probably middle to, even if he's on your bottom pair, like you can still play him 15 to 20 minutes on your bottom pair, all D zone starts. Yeah, I probably feel comfortable saying 5, but like a valuable 5, where it's like, yeah, he's not. First of all, he's not taking the bank, but you could play him in pretty much any situation and against the other team's best players. And I mean, like even in the 11 games that he played, I thought he looked better there than he did playing like U20. I think part of that was just the fact that like when you do go to the KHL, you actually have to like play a smart game. And that's kind of just like where his, like, that's where you notice him the most, is when it's like he's being called upon to make like high leverage situation, just a smart play instead of just being like, let me just skate this one out myself. Like just super, super reliable. Again, nothing super flashy, but 6'2", 200 pounds, high-end skating, elite defensive play. And he did it in the KHL for like a short stint, which like 11 games also isn't nothing when you're playing as many minutes as he played. But I really, really like him a lot. I think he's a guy that could go 3rd, 4th round, but I think that's going to be a real nice pickup for anyone that does want to take that swing. The one thing that I could see playing in his favor to go earlier than that is the fact that he's in a solid skating 6'2" defenseman. If he was a right shot, he'd probably be fucking 1st round.
He'd probably go number 2 to Chicago, right?
Yeah, literally, yeah.
Okay. Got one from Mateo here quick. Will Dominik Badinka make it to 45?
Yeah, probably. I feel like that's roughly the range. Like, I think 45 is like the spot for him.
Over under 44 and a half.
Fuck, he's a right shot. So the right shot, he's tall, he plays defense, he skates. Like, god damn, that's like
good looking son of a bitch.
I'm just gonna say 42. I'll take the under. I'll say 42. So then I'll reverse what I said. No, he won't.
He will not make it to 45. Sorry, Mateo.
Now I've said both, so I can't be wrong. I've said both.
Yeah,
again, like the fact that he's a right shot, he's a good skater, and like he's a defenseman. Like that's immediately that's a solid recipe to go earlier than. I don't know, 45.
Yep, probably.
But I like him a lot. Yeah. He's kind of a loose cannon, though.
Yeah, fair.